Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF, Bava Metzia, Mem Zayin. We are holding on Mem Vavam and Beis at the very last line. Amar Rabbo, Amar Rav Huna. So he quotes Rav Huna that if a fellow says, Mecherli be'elu, okay, so Reuben has in his hands a pack of money. He approaches his friend Shimon, please sell me this item here for this money. Shimon failed to ask him how much money there is. So he's just taking it, blindly. Kana. So in this case, as soon as Shimon picks up the money, Reuben has now acquired that item. Unlike your standard kinyan kesef, in which case when you pay for an item with money, with a defined amount of money, by acquiring the money, you don't, the customer doesn't automatically assume ownership of the item. You need to have meshicha, an actual physical kinyan on the item. But here it's different. You know why? Because Shimon failed to even ask, how much money do you have for me? He just took the pack of money blindly. Now it's viewed like he just made a switch, a swap, an exchange. Pack of money for a donkey. So by doing so, it's closer to kinyan chalipin. It's treated like a kinyan chalipin, in which case two people are swapping, exchanging an item. And as soon as one of them just makes a kinyan on his item that the item that he's acquiring, automatically the other item reverts to the other person's ownership. So it's an instant switch, and that's what happens here. It makes an instant switch. But v'yesh lo olavei no. But you should know that if the buyer is underpaying significantly, the din of ayna'ah, which pertains to cheating while buying and selling, applies here as well. Despite the fact that he didn't confirm or verify how much money there is. And the Gemara will explain. So we say it's a kinyan chalipin, but it has an element of of a standard kinyan kesef, in which case you have to be supplying value. And the Gemara explains, kana. So why do we say that, what do we mean when we say kana? It means that even though the buyer had not yet physically acquired the item that he's buying, still, since the seller took the money into his possession, it works. It makes an instant switch, and the buyer now owns the item. The kivin loy kapit, since he never asked, he never was particular about the amount. So we say, kana, the kinyan is automatic, even before an actual physical kinyan mashicha is applied to the item. The ki chalipin dami, because we look at this transaction like a chalipin transaction, which works instantly. As soon as one fellow picks up, the item that he is getting, automatically the other item given in exchange reverts to the other person's ownership. It's an instant switch. On the one hand, right, we treat it like chalipin. On the other hand, you have to be paying value. The key v'yesh lo elav, he does have a claim if he wasn't really paid proper value. The mecherli be'elu ka'amarli, because although on the one hand we treat it like chalipin, which typically doesn't really have value for value, just switching items, it doesn't necessarily have to match in value. But here he said mecherli be'elu, sell me the item with this pack of money. He used a lashon of mechira. Rashi says lashon memkar, but lashon chalipin. He didn't use chalipin. He used sell. I want a legal sale, which includes the ayna'ah guarantee. So that's one version of Rav Huna. Rav Abba quotes Rav Huna, Rav Huna, mechira le'elu, sell me the item with this pack of money without stipulating how much. Kana ve'ein lo elav ayna'ah. He takes it a step further. We treat it like a chalipin entirely. So by taking the money, instantly his item gets switched over to the other person, and on top of that, there's no inah claim. We treat it like a regular chalipin, and it doesn't have to have equal value. Continues the Gemara. Pshita. So the following case is clear, the one we just spoke about. If you used money without, confirming the amount, we just said the kani tikechalipin damu. As soon as the seller gets a hold of that money, instantly his item gets switched over to the other person because we treat it like a chalipin. What about if it's the other way around? Chalipin. Suppose there was no money involved. Rather, they were exchanging two items. A real chalipin. But in contrast to your standard chalipin, where perhaps people aren't so particular about value and matching up the value, the value of the items, here he was very makbid aleim. They were makbid that the items, given in exchange for each other, should match in value, should be of equal value, which is not your typical chalipin procedure. What is the halacha here? Do we treat it like a chalipin, in which case the meshicha of any item by its recipient automatically instantly makes the switch, or do we say no? Since he was makbid, which is an element, which is a feature typically found in standard kinyan kesef, so perhaps this transaction too, right, is viewed like a regular kinyan kesef, in which case receiving the money on its own will not make the kinyan until you do meshich on the item that you're buying. What is the halacha? Amar Abba Bar Abba Tashma will bring a raya. This fellow is walking along the market with his cow. And Shimon approaches. V'Amalin asks him, why'd you bring your animal to the marketplace? Well, he says, Reuben says, look, I happen to need a donkey. Oh, Shimon says, Hashkacha Prat is amazing. I have a perfect donkey for you. Okay, how much would you like to receive for your cow? Reuben says $100. Reuben asks Shimon, how much do you want to charge for your how much do you expect to get for your donkey? Shimon says $100. Perfect, what a coincidence. Mashach. So now Shimon, who was the chamor owner, grabs hold of the cow. He does a meshicha. Before Reuben, the cow owner, got a chance to take possession of the chamor, the chamor died. Deal's over. Shimon does not assume rights, does not get ownership of the parah. What do you mean? It was chalipin. Chalipin makes an instant switch. As soon as Shimon grabbed hold of that parah, deal's over. He gets the parah, and the chamor, wherever it is now Reuben's. The answer is, here it was different because they were careful to perfectly evaluate and appraise and to match up the value of their items. Shma mino chalipin makbaleim, a chalipin, where the parties are particular about value and switching up things of equal value, loikana. There's no kinyan chalipin. We treat it like a regular kinyan kesef, in which case you have to be moishech. You have to physically acquire the item that you're buying. Amar Rava, what do you mean? Atu chalipin. You're typical chalipin. Whenever we speak about chalipin, you think people are just doing it blindly? Taking heed, focusing on value is not a present element, is not a constant element. Atu chalipin b'shuftani askinim. Every chalipin transaction where people are switching items, you think it was silly people? Like they're not focused on value? What do you mean? The truth is, every chalipin, in every case, people are makbid on value. And still, it makes a proper chalipin. So why would it be different in the case of the cow with the donkey? My skin was speaking that he did an incomplete kinyan. Simple as that. Because what happened was, Shimon offered Reuben a chamar, he says, look, my chamar is heaven. You gotta pay well. Give me a parah and a tla, a cow and a sheep. And Shimon did meshicha on the parah, but not on the tla. So he never completed the transaction. It wasn't a complete meshicha. That's why it doesn't work. But otherwise, if it would have been an item for an item, even if there was hakpada, there was particularity regarding value, it's a standard chalipin, which makes an instant switch. So bottom line is like this. if you handed a pack of money without counting it, without presenting the exact amount, he just used money sort of as an approximate way, an approximate value, and he used it to buy something. We treat it like an item. In which case, as soon as the buyer picks up that pack of money, his item automatically, instantly transfers to the buyer. Do we apply ayna'ah in this case? A machlekes. And the Gemara did want to say that it works the other way around too, if you actually swap items, but you are makbid about value. We treat it like a kinyan kesef. And Rabbi disagreed. Let's go back to the case that we just mentioned. Here, sell me your item with this pack of money, right? So it's a kinyan, like a chalipin, and it has ayna'ah. The question is like this: chalipin with money? Le'ema kasava Rav Huna matbeh nas chalipin. Rav Huna know that you can make chalipin with a matbeh, which is a huge controversy. Loi, says the Rav Huna kasava Rabbi Yehuda. The reason why it works is because we're not speaking about chalipin. No, we're speaking about a kinyan damim, kinyan kesef. He's paying. The money that he's giving is being offered as payment for the item that he's buying. Now we're going with Rav Yehuda. Rav Huna said Rav Yehuda. What does Rav Yehuda say? Damar, he told us Dvar Torah. You should know that Minat Torah mois koines. Minat Torah, by paying with money for an item, that gets you the item. You don't need any further mashiach. Amru mashiach koines. Why did the Chacham require mashiach on top of payment? Gzeira, right? We discussed this the other day. Gzeira shema yomru. To protect the interests of the buyer, so that the seller should not be inclined to forsake the buyer's merchandise, which is still sitting in the seller's storehouse. Shema Yom is a concern that the seller might tell the buyer, look, your grain burnt down up in my attic. So to avoid that, we say, look, until Mashiach was done, it's not a done deal, and this way the buyer has an invested interest in protecting it because he can still change his mind if it goes up in price, etc., etc. So that's the takana, why Mashiach is required. But also the Shchicha, Gazru Rabbanon. Rabbanon only apply their Gzeris on typical standard cases. Irregular, purchase. But here it's such an unusual case. Who offers packs of money without, right? In which case we say, kinyan kesef, payment is sufficient to complete the deal. Amalei Marhuna Breda of Nachman Rav Ashi. He told Rav Ashi, Aton, you had this whole back and forth regarding Rav Huna's opinion. Do we say matbeh nasa chalipon or not? And you had this whole issue. Anan, by us, was very clear. Hachi masnin law. We had the following girsa. V'chein amar Rav Huna. Rav Huna likewise says, like Rabbi Yehuda, like the other shittas, ein matbeh nasa chalipon. You cannot use matbeh for chalipin. So it's pretty clear cut that he's of the opinion he cannot use matbeh for chalipin. So apparently, the reason why in this case, when he's paying with a pack of money, you don't need to do mashiach is as per the reason we just mentioned. Now in chalipin there are sort of two methods. You can swap an item for an item, a car for a car, an animal for an animal, right? Which sort of have close to equal value, or you can just use kinyan sudar, which is typically done at a wedding, right? The Messiah Kedushin gives the chassan a Parker pen, and by picking up that pen, the chassan is now committing himself to all marital commitments that are stipulated in the ksuba, right? So here it's not equal for equal. It's just a sort of symbolic gesture. He's giving him an item in exchange. In exchange, he is committing, and right? You can do that for purchasing fields, etc. So whose item do we use? Whose item do we use to trigger this exchange, to trigger this kinyan chalipin? Rav Amar b'kelev shel koinen. The buyer offers his thing to the seller, and upon receiving the item from the buyer, the seller is now giving away his karka or his whatever. The nichalei lekoina. Why does it work this way? Because the buyer is pleased to lihave makne koina. The makne, the one giving him the field, should take the buyer's item for the time being, so that the buyer will offer his item in exchange. Levi maintains that the one giving the item is the one offering The one giving the field, or in case of the chassan, the chassan himself was committing. He's the one that actually hands his item, his pen, his scarf. So there's like a scarf, he gives it to the recipient. How does that method work? Come on, as we're going to explain soon. Okay, Armalei Rav Huna be discarded. That was his name, Rav. He asked the question of Rav. Levi Dawan B'Kel Shel Makna. Going to Levi, the Makna, the one giving away the field or whatever, he's the one that uses his sudar to make the kinyan. Hakakani Ara Avagav Glima. So we figure at this point, how's it working? It's like a package deal. By giving away his pen, together with that pen, he gives the field. So Karka Agav Glima, it's the pen with the kerchief. In Cain, if that's the case, that the Mashiach of the Sudar, right, by the recipient taking the Sudar, he's getting the field with it. So we're going to be faced with a situation where you have Nechasim assets, which are considered safe and secure, i.e. real estate, which is now being given to the purchaser. How is it coming to him? It's coming along with the kerchief. That's typically an object that's called chasim she'en achrayis, because you can just take it wherever you want. It's not safe and secure, right? So basically, you're bundling together field with a kerchief, and the kinyan on the kerchief, by being meshich the kerchief, you're getting the field. But that's not the way it's supposed to be. If anything, the other way around. Va'anan ifchatnan. In our Mishnah back in Kedushin, we learned that it goes the other way around. Nechasim she'en lahem nachrayis. Nikn nechasim sheyesh la nachrayis. Right? You can do it the other way around. You can take a Parker pen and get it together with a field by making a kinyan on the field. Right? Let's say you want to buy a house with a car. You can make a kinyan on the house. By doing so, you can get the car with it. That's the way it works. We have psukim for that. Right? We learn it from, we have sources, but not the other way around. You can't make a kinyan on the car and have the house come along with it. You can't make a kinyan on the sudar and have the karka come along with it. Amar Lei, so he responded, how could you suggest that Levi made such a blatant mistake in understanding the procedure of a sudar? Levi hacha. If Levi would be standing here, have a mapik lapach, he would strike at your face, pull sidanura with beams of fire, with flames of fire. And Rashi says it means he would have put him into chayrim. How could you suggest that me sabras glima maknale? Do you think that we're using kinyan agav? That through the buyer making meshicha on the glima, on the garment, on the kerchief, whatever, because of that he's getting the karka as a bundle, as a package? No. It's a totally different system. It's kinyan sudar, not kinyan agav. The way it works is like this. Reuben is selling his field to Shimon. How does he sell it to him? By giving him a parka pen, by giving him a sudar. And he feels good. Look, Shimon is accepting my sudar, accepting my kerchief. That gives him satisfaction that he's cooperating. So that is something that now Shimon is giving to Reuben, that satisfaction. So in exchange for that satisfaction, he's giving him the karka. Reuben gives him the karka, now Shimon is kohen. That's the way sudar works. Kitanoi, actually this discussion of whose item is meant to be used to trigger the chalipin, or trigger the kinyan sudar, more accurately, is a machlekes tanoi, ketanoi. And it's based on how to understand the pasuk in Rus, where we have this idea of kinyan chalipin between Boyas, who purchased a field from this fellow called a goyel, this other relative. And he employed this kinyan sudar by handing him the shoe, right? So who handed the shoe to whom? The buyer to the seller, or seller to the buyer? That's the machlekes. This is the old tradition in our nation. Ala gula v'ala tmura. L'kaim kol davar, shalaf ishnala, right? You removed the shoe, but Nasman Reyu gave it to the other fellow. And the Gemara explains. Gula, what is that gula? So mechira, it's a sale. Le'igoyel is referring to a sale. Tmura, what is that? Zuchalipin. So a sale means an actual, standard type of sale where you pay for the item. And le'igoyel is going on, Tmura is going on in exchange. I.e. kinyan chalipin. So chalipin chenu oimar, we find elsewhere that this type of phrase refers to flipping, to exchanging things. Lo yachlifenav lo yamer oisei. The words the kaim kol davar, shalav yishnal nasnan re'eyu, is describing the Chalipin procedure. Question, who gave to whom? Me, Nasan Lami. Bayas was the buyer, Nasan, the Goyal gave it to the Goyal. So we use the Kli of the Kaina. Rabbi Yehuda, no, Goyal, Nasan Labayas. The Goyal, the seller, gave it to Bayas. We use the Kli of the Makna. So we have a straight out machlekes, how it works. Tana, we learned in the Brisa. Kainin b'Kli, Aval b'Shein b'Shar Pruta. We can use a Kli for a Chalipin, right, to trigger the exchange, even though it's worth less than a Pruta, but it's a Kli, it has Chashivas, it's enough. Omar of Nachman. That's only true b'Kli. If it's a Kli, that can trigger Chalipin. Aval Peri, you can't use anything other than a Kli. Because the pasuk speaks about a shoe, right? Rav Sheshes Amafilu Peres. You can even use Peres. My time of why? My time of Rav Nachman, right? Who says only a Kli. Amakra, the pasuk tells you Nalei, only a shoe. Nalei in Midach, only a shoe or an item that's a utensil. That's a Kli, but nothing else. My time of Rav Sheshes who says anything is okay. Amakra, l'kaim kol davar. That lashon pasuk includes all types of items. Rav Nachman Nami, what does Rav Nachman do with that part of the pasuk? To tell you Nikn b'minol. He holds that it's referring to these procedures, right? Geula and Tmura can work with a minol. So whether we're using Kinyan Sudar, which as we explained before is an unequal swap, or we're using Kinyan Chalipin, which is an equal swap, either way you can use a shoe, it can work. Rav Sheshes Nami Yaksiv Na'alei. Rav Sheshes says that you can use pretty much any item. Why does the pasuk single out a shoe? To tell you that it has to compare somewhat to a shoe. Just like the shoe mentioned in the pasuk denotes something with inherent, it's a complete item, right? Likewise, any other item that you want to use has to have that completeness to it, as opposed to half a fruit. A full fruit, yeah, but not a half a fruit. Half a pomegranate, half a nut, that can't be used. So bottom line, all agree you can use a Kli, even though it's worth very little. Some say you can use anything, as long as it's Davar HaMesuyim. Amar Sheshes, Breder Rabidi. Kiman kasvina ha'idna. In our, Chalipin documents, a document used to record a Kinyan Chalipin, we write the following. Look, there was a Kinyan that took place over here, B'mana, using a Kli, the Kasher, which is suitable of Knaya Bay, to do with it a Kinyan Chalipin. What's the point of elaborating? What do these words have? What are they referring to? Let's break it down word by word. B'mana means lafukim Rav Sheshes. You need to use a Kli as opposed to Rav Sheshes, who says otherwise. The Amar Kainim b'Peris. No, we need a Kli. The word the Kasher, what is that coming to denote? Lafukim Shmuel, as opposed to Shmuel. The Amar Kainim b'Meraika. You can use even a Kli. Rashi says ha'asim migloli bakar from animal waste. No, it's not a suitable Kli. It's not chashav enough to be used. The word lemeknai, what is that? Lafukim de Levi. Levi was the one who said the Amar b'Kelev shel makna. The one giving the property uses his Kli, hands his Kli to the lekech. No, lemeknaya tells you otherwise. Kamashman lemeknaya v'leknuya. No, it's the buyer, it's the receiver that gives the Kli, not the one who's giving the item. The word bay, what is that for? Papa Amar l'mutimat bay. You can use a coin for Chalipin, as we explained the other day. Rav Zvidah v'tem Rav Ashi Amar is a different shot in bay. L'muti Yisrael, no, you can use an item which is usher to be used, to be benefited from. Ikadami, there's another version, a slightly different version, that the word bay is for the following. Amar Papa l'mutimat bay, you can't use a coin. The word the kasher is coming from Rav Zvidah v'tem Rav Ashi, l'muti Yisrael, no. So we covered everything. We don't even need a pasuk for the Kli made of animal waste that's so insignificant and so valueless. Of course, you can't use it. Now back to the Mishnah, which told us that asimoin koines amatbeya. If you're paying for a matbeya, for a coin, using an asimoin, which is we're going to see in a minute, is not really a legal coin. That is considered, the asiman is considered the object, the merchandise, not considered payment. The matbea is considered the payment for the asiman, because that's currency, and the asiman is the commodity. So what is the asiman? My asiman, amarav mois hanetonis b'siman beis hamerchatz. Asiman is lashon of siman. It's like a token. So you walk into the bathhouse, you give this token to the bathhouse attendant, so he knows how many people are attending today, how much water he needs to cook up, how many towels he needs to prepare. Meis, here comes a kasha. How can you say that asiman is this bathhouse token? Ein machalin masashen al asiman. You cannot transfer the kedusha masasheni onto asiman because you need actual money for that. That's the first thing. And what else can you not use for chil masasheni v'loi al ma'ois hanitonis b'siman v'samerchatz? Can't use that type of token either. So apparently asiman is referring to a different type of item. Mechlal asiman lav ma'ois hanitonis b'siman v'samerchatz. V'chitem, perhaps we'll say pirush kamafarish. That yeah, it is the same thing. The Bryce is just explaining itself. You can't use an asiman. What is an asiman? Bathhouse token. No, that's incorrect. Well, in the next Bryce, we don't have it this way. Mechal masashen al asiman. Divrei Rabbi says you can use asiman for chil masasheni. That's his opinion, because apparently he considers it to be, it's we'll see in a minute. Okay, it's on its way to being minted. It's close enough to be considered a coin. No, you cannot use it for Maser Sheni. Ein Machalin. But Vishav and all agree that the bathhouse token is invalid for Maser Sheni. Shein Machalin al Ma'is Hanetonis B'Siman Beis HaMerchat. So clearly, an asiman is a different entity. It's not one and the same thing. You see, you cannot use the bathhouse token according to all shittas, but asiman, according to Rav Daisa, you could use for Maser Sheni. Apparently, it's a totally different entity. Elam Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda, you're right. My asiman pulsa. Asiman is an unminted slug. It's on its way to being minted, and that explains why Rav Daisa considers it close enough to currency and kosher for Maser Sheni use. And this interpretation of Rabbi Yehuda, that what? That asiman is on its way to being minted, and that explains why Rav Daisa allowed it for Maser Sheni. He's going with his opinion. The Amar Rabbi Yehuda himself tells us that Rabbi Daisa, this opinion of Rabbi Daisa, corresponds with another shita. Rabbi Shmuel, Amar Davar, they're both on the same track. Where do we find Rabbi Shmuel? So Rabbi Daisa, Hadamar, as we just said, you can be Mechal Maser Sheni on Asiman. What about Rabbi Shmuel? Where is that? The Sani Batzata Kasu Yadecha. Take the money used for Maser Sheni, take it and bring it to Yerushalayim. The Rambam is called Davar. Ha-nitzra b'yad. V'tzarta means any type of money or semi-money which you're going to be holding, you can wrap in your hand. It's kosher for Maser Sheni. Even this type of unminted money, because it's close enough, it's on the verge of being considered money. Divrei Rabbi Shmuel is Rabbi Shmuel's shita, and that corresponds with Rabbi Daisa, who considers it to be valid for Maser Sheni. No, Rabbi Kiva Eimer l'Rabbi is called over sheish al-v'tzura. Just the opposite. V'tzarta needs to have a form. It needs to be minted money. Otherwise, it's no good for Maser Sheni. Keitzad Moshe Cheimenu Peres V'lenosnle Mois Eino Yachal Achlasabay. So you purchase Peres by paying money, right? So that's not sufficient to complete the deal. But if he did Mashiach on the Peres, even before accepting payment, the deal is over. So Mashiach is what triggers a deal. The more we'll explain why. We already had some insight into this sugya a couple of days ago, and again today earlier with the fire, etc. So here comes the actual sugya. Rabbi Yechanan, you should know that min ha-Torah, based on just the psukim, dvar Torah mo'is koines. By simply paying for an item, that gives you the item, without any further ado. But midrabanan, more is needed. Why do Chacham insist that you do Mashiach, you physically acquire the item before you actually are considered the owner? This was meant to protect the interests of the buyer. Because otherwise, if you just pay for the item before doing anything else, the item presumably is still sitting in the seller's, cellar or attic, and the seller might tell the buyer, look, a fire broke out and your stuff's gone. Look, I'm sorry, your wheat got burned up in my attic. Sorry, nothing I can do. But now that we say, deal is not done until the buyer took the item out of the owner's possession. So until that happens, it's still somewhat in the owner's purview, meaning he can change his mind if he sees the price goes up. So he has an interest in protecting that property. He has an interest in safeguarding that wheat. So he'll protect it from fire. Asks the Gemara, one second, what's the issue? It's going to get burned? Safe. At the end of the day, who's going to pay for it? Whoever lights the fire, he's got to pay. I mean, somebody's going to compensate for this loss. Oh, we're concerned that perhaps there'll be an accidental fire. So now, if we consider the wheat still in possession of the seller, he'll go all out to save the items. But otherwise, if it's a done deal and belongs to the buyer all the way, he's not going to go all out to make that extra effort to save it. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, payment is sufficient. Rabbanan, we require Meshicha to complete the deal. Rish Lakish disagrees. Rish Lakish Amar, Meshicha is required to complete the deal. Until you have physical possession of the item, it's not yours. My time with the Rish Lakish, why? Amar Kro, we have a pasuk. Right? When you sell something, you buy from the hand of the seller. Apparently hands are involved. You need physical possession to make it yours. It has to go from one hand to the other. Which means Mashiach. And only that completes the deal. Rabbi Yehuda, he responds, Amar, he says, miyad, the word miyad, l'mutei karka. The less be'oinah. So it's simply coming to tell you that the halacha of oinah, of overpaying or underpaying, which which triggers the whole oinah process. Some cases you can actually cancel the deal. So all this only applies to merchandise, not to real estate, not to karka. And that's learned from the word miyad, things which are, things which switch hands, but not actual real estate. Viresh Lakish, he responds, well, Imkain, if that was the only reason for the pasuk here, for the Lichtev Krovechi Simkaru Mimkar, the pasuk would say like this. The whole purpose was to teach you that oinah does not apply to karka. It would say, well, when you sell something, something which exchanges hands, don't, overcharge, don't undercharge. Why does the pasuk add the word oikanai, indicating that you buy through exchanging hands, that you need meshicha, physical possession, to be kaina? Lamali, what's the point of that expression in the pasuk? Shema, not to teach you the meshicha, that in fact meshicha is a deal closer. For Rabbi Yehuda, he responds, well, what does it do with oikana? Look at the sanya needed for another halacha. When you sell, don't overcharge. And that's when the buyer was unfairly treated, he was overcharged. What about if the buyer unfairly deals with the seller, I mean he underpays? Even the buyer, beware, don't do oinah. So that explains why the pasuk adds the words oikana. It's not to teach us that you do meshicha to be kaina. No, it's to teach you that the kaina has to be aware of the of his obligations to the meicher as well. Rish Lakish, he responds, you can learn both things from the word oikana. And Rashi explains the fact that the pasuk mentions oikana teaches you that the kaina, the buyer beware, don't undercharge, and the fact that it says oikana near the words miyad tells you that the kinyan takes place through miyad, through physical possession. Okay, so bottom line, Rabbi Yehuda says Kesef makes the kinyan not Torah, and the Rabbanan we have to add Mashiach to the deal. Rish Lakish says no, Mashiach is the deal closer min ha-Torah. Tanan, let's go back to our Mishnah in the beginning of our parak. We have a machlekes. Tanakama says until you actually take physical possession, until you do Mashiach on the item, the deal's not over. Anybody, the seller, the buyer, can change their minds and cancel the deal. Rabbi Shimon says no, only the seller has that privilege. Tanan, Rabbi Shimon, the fellow who already took possession of the money, meaning the seller, yadai alal yad, he has the upper hand. He can change the mind. He can close. He can renege on the deal. Meicher Only the Meicher, the seller, can go back on the deal. But the Lekeach, the buyer, too late for him, and Tanakama disagrees. Both seller and the buyer had the same ability to renege on the deal. Let's try to analyze this machlekes. Let's try to analyze Reb Shimon's shita. Now, if we go with Rabbi Yechanan's opinion, that payment really triggers the kinyan, minat Torah. That explains Reb Shimon's opinion. The seller can go back on the deal, but not the buyer. Why is that? Because as we explained before, the whole point was to protect the buyer's, merchandise. So by allowing the meicher, the seller, to go back on the deal in case he sees more profit coming, in case he sees, a spike in market value, so he has a vested interest in protecting that property, and protecting that merchandise, because he can, cancel this deal, make more money. So we give him that incentive, and that explains why he has only has the ability to be chayzer, but not the buyer. Why should we give him that privilege? The seller has the ability and not the buyer. But according to Reish Lakish, money on its own doesn't affect the deal, doesn't close the deal until you do Mashiach. So prior to Mashiach, it's an open book. Just as the seller can change his mind, so could the Lekeach. Why are we differentiating? She responds like this. You're right. I never meant to say. My opinion was not reflective of Reb Shimon. You're right. He certainly holds that money closes the deal minat Torah, and Mashiach is only required min Rabbanon, in which case we only give that privilege to the seller, etc. My words reflected the Rabbanon Shita. The Rabbanon, it was in line with the Rabbanon, which is the majority, the consensus. Well, that until you do Mashiach, deal is not over, and therefore, prior to Mashiach, everybody, buyer and seller, can cancel a deal. So now Bishlam with Reish Lakish, it's all good according to Reish Lakish. Why there's a machlekes in the Mishnah? Machlekes is revolving around this point. That explains the machlekes between Reb Shimon, who says, well, Ma'is is koinais, Mashiach is only the Rabbanon, and that Chazorah privilege is granted only to the seller to protect the buyer's property. L'Rabbanon, as opposed to Rabbanon hold, no. Mashiach is a Torah requirement. Till that happens, the deal is not over. So until that happens, anybody can change their minds. So it's pretty clear why there's a machlekes. According to Rabbi Yechanan's opinion, according to Rabbi Yechan, who says, Mois is koines minat Torah. Rabbanon were the ones who added the Mashiach requirement. And again, the point was to give the meicher that incentive to protect the buyer's item by giving him the ability to change his mind and to up the price in case he sees an opportunity. So, that would explain why Reb Shimon gives the buyer, the seller, the ability to change his mind. But why did the Chachamim disagree on that? Why did they give the buyer rishus to change his mind as well? So what's the machlekes based on? It's based on Rav Chisda. How far do we go with allowing this cancellation privilege, with giving this cancellation privilege? Rav Chisda tells us, just as until you do Mashiach, the Meicher can change his mind, as we explained before. And this was meant, to give him that incentive to protect the property. Kach tiknu Mashiach b'lekuchais. Likewise, the buyer has the same right. And Rashi explains, why? Because it's also going to give the seller reason to protect the wheat from fire. Because as soon as the buyer sees fire coming, he'll just say, oh, I'm canceling the deal. It's back yours. And then the meicher is going to suffer that loss. It's going to be his wheat being burned. So, by allowing the lekeach to, in fact, cancel a deal midway, until Mashiach is done, that adds another layer of incentive to the seller to want to protect this merchandise. So actually, it enhances the whole arrangement. And that's the Tanakama, the Chacham's opinion in our Mishnah. Everybody can change their mind. The Meicha and the Lekeach. So bottom line, Reb Shimon, who says only the seller can renege, less like the Rav Chisda, he doesn't hold the Rav Chisda, angle. And only the seller can change his mind if he sees, more profit on the horizon. So that gives him the incentive to protect the property and protect the merchandise. Rabbanan, however, Isla Rav Chizda, hold Rav Chizda, and just as we give the Meicher Rishus to be Chayzer, likewise the Lekeach. Which again will give an added layer of incentive to the seller to protect the chitim from fire. Okay, bottom line, we have a fellow offering a pack of money, uncounted money. At least the fellow receiving it has no idea how much it is. He didn't ask how much it was. So we treat it like a chalipin. And it affects an instant transfer, meaning as soon as the meicher picks up that pack of money, the item given in exchange is automatically, instantly transferred to the other fellow's ownership. What about ayna'ah in this case? Well, since he said the word mecharli, we treat it like a regular transaction, and ayna'ah is in place. There's another opinion which disagrees on that. Then we had an interesting shaila. What about swapping items? And they were careful about value. Do we treat it like a regular chalipin, which affects instant change, or do we say it's like a payment? That was another interesting discussion. Regarding kinyan chalipin, kinyan sudar, where you take like an item of minimal value and hand it over to trigger a chalipin exchange. Who's the one who's giving that item? Whose item is it? The keach, the meicher, the machlekes, based on the psukim, we had a brayso about it. What type of item can we use? Some say dafka kli, some say even peiros, but it has to be a davar nesuyim, a full and complete item. When we exchange money for an asimoin, the asimoin is considered the object. What is the asimoin? Whether it's the unminted coin, whether it's the slug used for the beis hamerchatz. And finally, we had this shas machlekes regarding what is the true element of kinyan. Is it the element which triggers kinyan? Is it the actual payment, or do we need meshicha as well? According to Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, payment is enough. Meshicha was added in the Rabbanan. Until then, there could be chazara. According to Rabbanan, both can be chayzer. According to Rabbi Shimon, only the meicher. According to Rish Lakish, meshicha is required in Torah. It's based on the pasuk ekonim yad misecha. Until that happens, there's no deal. And that's according to the consensus, the Rabbanan. But Rabbi Shimon Namash disagrees. He holds no, mois is kainais, and the point of the meshicha is only the Rabbanan, and therefore he holds only the meicher can be chayzer prior to meshicha. All the best to you, and hatzlacha Rabbah.